This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so now it's good to go. Okay, so please make sure in case if you guys are joining, so I'd like in case if you're disconnected and joining again, make sure you mute your mic so it will help others also to not to be get disturbed. Okay, awesome. So let's get started. So this is Sharad Kumar from Cytron Technologies. So first let me give a quick introduction about what is Cytron Technologies and what we do. Then we will proceed with the webinar. Okay, so this is the 90 minutes webinar that we are planning. It's a sandwich of, let's imagine, so the intro about AI, ML, deep learning, and AWS, and the live demo on AWS. That's what exactly even I'm very much eager to show you guys what AWS can able to offer you guys. So then we will be talking about the job opportunities and what else next, what we can do after that. So yeah, let us quickly get started. So Cytron Technologies. So what we do, Cytron Technologies, so we are an IoT and AI company in a first hand. I mean, so we are not a training based company. So that I want to tell you guys before itself. So what do you mean by you're not a training based company? No, so we are not promoted ourselves as a training based company. So we are a product based company. So we work with, let's imagine, um, industries, manufacturing industries, whoever need a projects are, let's imagine, so who are looking for AI and ML use cases on their companies, or maybe if they want to move into the AWS cloud, those kind of stuff what we do. So yes, we have a domain expertise on AI, ML, AWS especially, and IoT too. So this is what we do. And other part of a company, we do this workshops, training programs, or maybe full-fledged certification programs. So the exact motto for us in doing this workshop, or maybe a free webinars, or maybe a courses, so we are trying to build a community of a peoples. It may be working professionals, college professors, students, whoever it might be. We are bringing the peoples together, so where we can grow together with an opportunities. It may be any kind of a stuff that we do. It may be open source projects that we want to build together, maybe like a free events, webinars. So those kind of a stuff that we are really focused into. What we are really focused into doing webinars and programs actually. Okay, let's get started. So let me just throw this slide away. Okay, so let me give a quick introduction about me, so then we can get started. So as I told you, this is Sharath. I will be your host for this entire webinar. So I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Cytron Technologies. We are a Bangalore-based company, so Bangalore, India. So in case if you guys are joining from other countries, welcome you guys too on board to the webinar. So like as part of a training, so we have done more than 25 plus webinars that is related to IoT, ML, AI, AWS, lot of stuff like that. So 40 plus workshops and courses. What do you mean by workshop and courses? It's completely focused on hands-on. I mean, so where after you attending this webinar or courses, you will be learning how to do hands-on practices. I mean, building a live projects by using a real-time data and other stuff. So workshops and courses we also do. So we have trained more than 5,000 peoples on IoT, ML, and AI, AWS too, right? Okay, so this is a small introduction about me before we stepping further. So let me quickly make sure if my screen is visible for you guys, and if my audio is clear, please tell me yes in a chat window. So that will be a quick acknowledgement for me to proceed further. So I'm looking for S's in case if you can able to hear me and if my screen is visible. Thank you, thank you. So thanks. There are a lot of people are still joining. I cannot like welcome you guys
Yes,
on
sir.
board. One on. So I can see Suresh, Sundar, lot of other peoples. I can see Rajesh. So welcome you guys, everyone. So I will like we will talk. I mean, so there's a Q&A session after this 90 minutes, so we can talk very presently. Like let's quickly get started. So what we are really interested today is about these three topics. So highlights of this webinar. So that is impact of AI ML. We're going to talk about what is really happening in this world right now. So what is the world is traveling. Let's imagine in the focus of next 10 years, what is really going to happen in this world. So and AWS ML stack. So we are talking about AWS. So this webinar is about machine learning, yes, and it's also about a cloud platform, a world-leading cloud platform. It's called Amazon Web Services. Probably you might be knowing that. So we'll be talking about what AWS is really going to offer us in terms of ML and AI, and what's the real trend in job market. So what is really happening in the job market? We're going to also explore that, right? Everyone would be eagerly waiting for that too. So let's get started. First, we will start discussing on impact of ML and AI. Okay, so So obviously we need to get started with the use cases, then only it makes sense for us to get to proceed further, right? So let's discuss about the few use cases around us in ML and AI. So then it will provide us a gateway to discuss and further things in this particular webinar. Okay, so still peoples are joining. So but anyway, like the amount of people who are here right now, let's imagine, so you might be joining from many different domains. I mean, you might be coming from a software domain where you might be working with a banking client, or you might be working with some medical client, or maybe you might be working with e-commerce, e-commerce related business, or maybe something else, right? Or maybe even you might be working related to agriculture sector, space sector, anything, right? So in case if you're wondering, so I'm coming from an agriculture sector. Do I have, let's imagine if you're asking a question, so do I have ML and AI use cases in my agriculture sector? Or if you're asking, do I have use cases of ML and AI in agriculture sector or maybe space sector, banking sector? The answer is yes. The answer is yes for any kind of the industry that you're joining from. So the simple answer is wherever you have an access to digital data, yes, there is a use cases of ML and AI over there. It may be agriculture industry to space industry, the use cases exist anywhere. So let me, before I'm discussing about this slide, so I want to break one thing today. So when we talk about MLAI, especially artificial intelligence, robotics, a Terminator movie where the world is going to destroy, a computer virus going to take care of entire world. No, it's something what we think it's really a future, right? When we discuss about ML and AI, everyone talks about it's something a future, right? So, but so if you think it's a future, yes, I agree. But the future is not. Let's imagine after 5 years or 10 years, what you're thinking about. So ML and AI is really shaping our lives, everyday lives right now. So let me tell you like a few examples. I mean, the few use cases that every day we use it. So let me tell you that few use cases to reveal for everyone saying that we are in the age of ML and AI. So the first application that I want to tell you from your smartphones. Everyone has a smartphones. It may be you might be having iOS or you might be having an Android application, Android for whatever it is, right? So most of the smartphones right now they have a face unlocking system. I mean, so if you bring your front facing camera to your face, it can able to unlock your phone basically, right? So yes, you might be having a fingerprint sensor, that's completely different, but I'm talking about a face unlocking system, right? So that is called computer vision based application, basically a face recognition application. Is part of a machine learning. So if you wonder, yeah, so we are in the age of ML and AI. So I will provide you one more example where we will again realize, yeah. So you might be aware about something called deep learning technologies, deep learning devices otherwise. So those are much technical term, but let me tell you, a Google Assistant. You might be aware about Google Assistant. I mean, if you can able to talk to Google saying that, okay, Google, can you call me my mom? Can you call my dad? Can you book me? And let's imagine, can I book the alarm or maybe putting some notifications, right? So you know about this Google Home, so you can do wonders with that. You can make a calls, you can send SMSs, you can do much more than that. Similar to that, you might be also aware about, like Amazon used to keep on advertising a device called Amazon Alexa, right? You might be also heard about Alexa, which is again powered by Amazon, which is again a deep learning technology. And obviously Siri, who loves Siri, right? It's the most funniest voice assistant. So this is again a great example. So to realize ourselves, we are in the age of ML and AI. There are like a lot of use cases that I can still pitch in you guys. So maybe NLP based technologies, what it is called, otherwise a natural language processing. So maybe the use cases, right? Like sentiment analysis. So what do you mean by sentiment analysis, right? So let's take an Amazon.com itself an example. So in today's pandemic world, everyone like to buy the products, maybe groceries, whatever it is, from an Amazon itself. I mean, so we don't want to go to a physical store to buy the products, but let's imagine we much focusing on e-commerce platforms. So we buy products from e-commerce platforms, like companies like Amazon. Let's consider, if you buy a product, you can able to review that product, saying like if you really like the product, if a seller has promised every feature what he has displayed in the website, so you're going to really put up a 5 star for him and you're going to give that a beautiful review for him, right? Otherwise, in case if a seller is not so if the seller is didn't delivered what he has promised in the product, so obviously as an angry customer we're going to review that product like nothing else, right? So what Amazon is doing with that data, if you really imagine, so a truckload of reviews has been given by millions of customers to Amazon. So like, what do you think like Amazon is doing with such a huge data? So if you realize, the Amazon used to do sentiment analysis. What do you mean by sentiment analysis again? So they are analyzing the data, and they are really trying to figure out whether this particular seller who is selling this product, whether customers are really happy, whether customers are really happy with a specific product, a specific seller who is selling that product on Amazon. So they are doing sentiment analysis whether the customers are really happy with that product or not. So those are those kind of use cases again, which is going to add a more value add. So that is going to help us Amazon to provide a most the most of the what to say. I mean, so the good sellers, the good vendors in their platform. So that's one of the use cases. It may be a text classification use cases, or maybe a chatbots. Who doesn't love chatbots in the today's world, right? Chatbots are ruling the digital marketing world. I mean, you can see a chatbots in every websites today. I mean, not maybe every chatbots that you see in a website may not be powered by AI, artificial intelligence, but yes, every websites, every digital marketing platforms now, they are trying to incorporate with chatbots. For example, like all the famous e-commerce websites has a chatbot, so you can go and interact with them. I mean, so you so now the situation has been completely changed, guys. I mean, so there is no more a human being is sitting next to you on the screen and chatting with you. So there is a chatbot, which is powered by artificial intelligence, which can able to resolve the complete problem that you might have, a complete the problem that you are facing. So chatbots can able to help you with that. So, or maybe a lead generation technologies, like by using a chatbots, again, it's ruling the world. So chatbots is again a use case that you can think about, or maybe something related to robotics. Let's imagine a technology related robotics, self-driving cars. Who loves Tesla, right? So Tesla is one of the first company that we can represent. I mean, I can provide an example for a self-driving cars. I mean, a complete automated car, right? So who, like, you can see like a crazy videos now. Once companies are introducing a self-driving cars, now people are sleeping in the car when they are going for their offices. That's really crazy, right? So that's a level of technology, guys. You need to believe yourself. We are in an age of ML and AI, so that's not something of future. So if you're thinking that is going to be happening in the next 5 years or 10 years, you might be losing the a piece of a huge cake actually. Or maybe some other use cases that is related to computer vision. Let's imagine here I have a customer behavior tracking use case. So what do you mean by that? Let's imagine you are going for you are trying to buy a cloth. Let's imagine you're going for a famous a showroom where you want to buy some cloths. So like there are a lot of collections. Let's imagine you wear that different kind of collections. Let's imagine there is a camera who is continuously monitoring you, just figuring out whether customer is really feeling happy when he or she wearing that cloth or not. So that kind of a use case, it may be the use cases in agriculture. So sort of, let's imagine the diseases on the leaves, analyzing the pests. So a lot of things like that. Or maybe, sorry, yeah, or maybe it may be a use cases into automotive industries, like classification and regression on a traffic. I mean, so let's imagine a Google Maps has integrated such technologies already. I mean, like Google has a feature in their Google Maps where they keep on um, giving a suggestions for you every day when you're going for your daily job. So giving some good suggestions to avoid a huge traffic in front of you, right? So again, those are powered by ML and AI. So use cases. So the entire motto of this particular slide is to realize ourselves like the use cases of ML and AI exist everywhere. It may be any kind of industry that you're talking about. The use cases existing everywhere. So, but so there might be a people who are here, who might be completely new to machine learning, but in a layman terms, I want to give a simple description of what is this machine learning is really about. Let's discuss about that. So you can able to see this beautiful picture in my screen right now. So just question yourself. So just question yourself what you can see from that particular picture. What is this scene is really about? So what is this scene is really about? So just question yourself. Just take a few seconds. Just see this picture and just question yourself what you can able to see. Oh, so have you figured out? Okay, so let me help you guys. So you can able to see this is a beautiful picture of a park, right? Who doesn't like to go and spend the time over there, right? Everyone likes to do. But question yourself what you can see from this picture. You can able to see a scenery, which is a park, and I can see a lot of trees over here, and I can see different peoples. I mean, I can see different age groups of peoples who is spending their time in a park. Few people are sitting on the grass and the few people are walking, and I can see a dogs. I can see a different breed of dogs, even a dog which is carrying a ball in his mouth, and I can see a male and a female. I can able to differentiate a lot of things in this. I can see a path. I can see a bench where we can go and sit over there, right? So this is what exactly that I am trying to explain over here. What exactly that I am trying to explain here is nothing but, so question yourself, how do you know this is a picture of a park? How do you know this is a dog? How do you know this is a dog? And how do you know this is a male? And how do you know this she's a female? How can you differentiate the gender? And how do you know these are the trees and these are the grass and there's a path to walk? So if you question yourself, but let's try to question ourselves and let's try to answer ourselves by seeing this particular picture. So this is the growth cycle for any human being. So let's imagine, let's start from the beginning. Let's imagine a newborn baby. He or she might be just, let's imagine, less than a years old. Okay, so like what does that baby knows? I mean, that baby barely recognizes his mother and father. That's it. Other than that, the baby doesn't know anything else. She doesn't know how to talk, how to walk, and the difference between the male and female, nothing else, right? So what happens, let's imagine the baby grows when he or she might go to a babysitting school where he might be learning how to walk and how to talk first of all and other stuff, right? So what is that really happening over here is nothing but there is a someone who is feeding a data, right? So when we are born, when we are a newborn baby, when there is a newborn baby, we have a complete empty a storage on our brains, if you consider. So there is a lot of data that is being fed, maybe from your mother, maybe from your father, or maybe from your teacher, or maybe yourself by watching and touching and doing some things, right? So when you then you might go to a primary school, a first grade, second grade, you might learn how to learn a different languages, doing mathematics, learning English, some other languages, lot of stuff, right? So here again, if you see what is happening, there is a lot of data is being fed it. So if we consider this entire growth cycle, if I put it in a graph, if you see the complete, the learning curve is exponentially growing up. I mean, so let's imagine then you might go to school, then you might not go to a college, then you might go to a job. So then you become a senior person, and then finally you might die. So that's completely different. But so till we die, I mean, what's happening? The data is being completely feeded into. I mean, we are completely learning something new every day, right? So the more the data that you get, the more the learning that you get for yourself, the much more better you get, right? So that's what really happening. So this is the same concept what human beings are trying to implement in the machines, what we are talking about for doing machine learning by using this kind of a machines. So let's consider, so this is the same concept. We have a data, we need to feed in that data to a hardware. It may be any high-end server, or maybe a PC, or maybe any low-end devices, something like this, or maybe a service in the clouds like AWS, right? So the ultimate goal here is we have a data in the form of, let's imagine, a digital form. It may be a file which is in the structure of CSV. Let's imagine we have a .csv file. So R, you might be having some JSON file, some extensions. So you have your digital data where we are trying to teach this data to a hardware that we have, any low-end device, server, or a server in the cloud. So the same thing, what we have learned, we are trying to teach to this specific hardware. And once this hardware has learned everything, so then we are telling this machine to make some predictions saying what may happen in the future. So let me provide an example. So let's imagine, so in this CSV file, I have a electricity data, I mean energy data of your home. So what do you mean by energy data of your home again? So let's imagine for last 3 years, let's imagine I collected the complete energy data of my home. Let's imagine how much energy does my washing machine, water geyser, or maybe any electronic appliances that you might have, electrical and electronic appliances that you might have in your home. Let's imagine I collected the complete data, right? So I have almost 3 years of data in this CSV file right now. So what I do, I teach this data to a hardware by using some kind of a software where I have something like an algorithm to teach that particular data to my hardware. So once my hardware has learned all the data, so now my hardware is ready to make a predictions. So my hardware is going to learn all the patterns from my data. So this is very important. What do you mean by patterns? So let's imagine I have collected almost 3 years of data. Okay, so in my 3 years of data, I might have a lot of different patterns. I mean, your energy consumption might not be same in every month. I mean, during summers you might have higher electricity consumption, but during winters you might have very less, or maybe it varies, depends on the seasons, right? It might it might learn all the different patterns in your data. I mean, your machine is going to learn all the different patterns in your data. So then I'm asking my machine to make a forecast. So what do you mean by forecast? I need a forecast for the next 6 months, saying, so let's imagine for next 6 months, I'm asking my algorithm, how will be my electricity bill forecast? I mean, for the next 6 months, what will be my electricity bills? Just imagine, this is what exactly machines are trying to do. This is what exactly a machine learning is in a very simple layman terms. So it can learn a data, it can able to make a predictions in a futuristic predictions what may happen in the future, or maybe analyzing, like let's imagine you have a picture of a cat or picture of a dog. So just by feeding that data to your machine, so your machine can able to recognize it's a cat, it's a dog, right? So this is what exactly happening. So if you need a technical definition lies something like this. A machine learning is a study of algorithm and mathematical models that computer system uses to progressively improve their performance on a specific task. Otherwise, I can put it in this way. So machine learning is all about teaching a complex mathematical models to your computer. So once your computer has learned all the complex mathematical models, so it can able to make a futuristic prediction saying what may happen in the future. As simple as that. So this is what really happening. But if I want to show you guys a typical workflow end to end, so probably no one has might have shown you, even if you are a machine learning engineer, if anyone machine learning engineers who might be joining, so there is some missing pieces for you also. So here is the complete a typical workflow of end to end machine learning, the use cases. Let's imagine. So let me simply try to explain this in much more easier way. Let's imagine. So we start from here. This is the place where we start feeding the data to our machine. Okay, a data can be a JPEG, I mean a picture, it may be a CSV file, it may be a text file, it may be a JSON file. A data can come in various different forms, right? So then we do something called preparation of your data, prepare your data. I mean, so whatever the data that we get, we used to make some preparations. What do you mean by preparations? Is nothing but all the data that you get, it's not a quality data. I mean, the quality is really important, right? So what you learn is really important. What you teach to your machines are very important. So what's I mean, what it's very important. Let's imagine the syllabus. I mean, the content that you're teaching for your students in a school. It's very important for them to learn and get the quality education. So it's similar to that. So the data really matters. The quality data really matters. So we ensure we give a quality data for our machines to learn. So that's why we do a data preparation, what it means. So then we do building a model on your favorite IDE. I mean, so that's where we start writing our code on a Python or maybe JavaScript or something, some different programming languages. So we write all the different kinds of program to train our model. So once we have written a program, so then we will do start training your model. I mean, training your machine basically. Otherwise, so we did some data preparation. Our data is quality right now. So then we take the data, then we will tell our machine to learn from it. So once your machine has learned data from it, so now your machine is ready to make some predictions out of it. So then once your machine has learned everything from it, so then we do something called deployment. So model deployment happens. So why do we do model deployment? Model deployment happens because so the model has to be hosted, like let's imagine a website. Let's imagine once after we're building a website, we host that website in a some hosting platforms where others can come and interact with that, right? Similar to that. So we do deployment. So once after the model is deployed, so you can able to build any applications out of it. I mean, where your peoples, where your users, customers, they're going to interact with that. Let's imagine you might need to build an Android application, so where your users or customers, they're going to interact with that machine learning model, or maybe any front end application that you want to build where your users and customers want to interact with that. So this is a typical workflow of any machine learning use case for any kind of industry that we are talking about. So obviously, so programming language. So if you're asking a question, do I need to learn any programming language to do machine learning? Yes, obviously. So platforms like AWS, or maybe even if you're thinking about some platforms like Microsoft Azure, so different cloud platforms. So they really offer a platform where you don't want to code anything. I mean, without using any programming language, still you can design a machine learning model out of it. But it's not going to be so much. I mean, so it's not going to be so much good at some certain extent. It's not going to helpful for you guys, because the most customizable things that you cannot do with that, right? So once you can able to learn a programming languages, something like Python, or maybe C++, JavaScript, you can do wonders with that. Everything that you want to build, you can build it from a scratch, right? So what is the best programming language to get started? So there are a lot of programming languages now available for machine learning. You can do machine learning with Python. You can do machine learning with R. You can use JavaScript even, or C++, or Java also. So everything works. But what is the best to choose? So the best platform to choose is Python. So Python would be one of the best the programming language to get started with, because most amount of the workloads in the world is running on Python, and learning Python and implementation of the Python is very easier comparing with other programming languages. So before we proceed, so here now I need to provide some few insights. Let's imagine, let's consider you guys want to become a specialist. I mean, every participants who are attending, let's imagine you want to become a specialist in a machine learning. I mean, you want to become a proper professional in a machine learning. What are the topics really you need to see? What are the topics you really need to study? So machine learning, or artificial intelligence, or deep learning. There are many different terms what people used to mention. So what are the machine learning, or maybe artificial intelligence, what these technologies are incorporated with what are the things you need to learn? So yes, so here is the things. So first, you need to understand the data. I mean, so machine learning is all about teaching a data to a machine, and once a machine has learned the data, it can able to make a futuristic prediction. So here, if you consider a data is a food, it's a meal for your machine, right? So providing a quality data, it really makes sense, right? So let's imagine if you taken a very bad meal, you might be ending with a diarrhea or something else, right? A quality food, a quality meal really makes sense for you, right? So learning about data is very important, right? So let's imagine, so what are the kinds of data that we might have in the world, right? But here I try to minimize that in a very simple terms. So there are three kinds of data. One is called numerical data, categorical data, and ordinal data. So what is this? I mean, so any kind of a data that you bring, it may be any kind of a use cases data. So I mentioned, let's imagine electricity data, right? So where I have a data that I collected for my electricity, for my home appliances, where I want to make some futuristic predictions of forecast, right? Let's imagine any kind of a data that we get. So mostly it will be revolving around the three types: numerical, categorical, and ordinal. So what is this numerical data in a first time? So numerical data actually represents some sort of quantitative measurement. So what do you mean by that? So let's imagine, what do you mean by quantitative measurement is nothing but, let's imagine if we consider a height of a person, or maybe let's imagine the amount of time it's going to take for a page, a particular website to load, or maybe the stock price. So this has some quantitative measurement, it has some quantitative meaning on it, right? So numerical data again categorized into two types. Let's imagine discrete data or continuous data. So what do you mean by discrete data? So discrete data means it's often it has some events. For example, let's imagine how many purchases did a customer makes in a year. That is completely discrete. Let's imagine we use e-commerce websites like Amazon or something like that. So let's imagine amount of purchase that you made last year. Let's imagine I can able to mention that clearly. Okay, so you have purchased 5 products or 15 products in last 1 year. So that is discrete. So how many times did I flip the heads or tails in a coin, right? So that is again a discrete. So wherein another category we have is continuous data. What do you mean by continuous data? Continuous data is much more different. So continuous data will have infinite number of possibilities. So what do you mean by infinite number of possibilities? So let's imagine a good example might be how much time a customer took for checking out the product from an Amazon. Let's imagine you're trying to buy some products, you added into a cart in an Amazon. How much time it took for you to check out? So can you exactly mention that? No, it's hard. It has an infinite number of possibilities. You might take 10 minutes or you might take 10 years even to check out that product, right? So otherwise, let's imagine how much rainfall on a given day. I mean, how much rainfall in a given day. Let's imagine the density of a rain might vary in many different locations. You cannot exactly calculate how much rain you might have got in that particular given day, right? So this is about continuous data. So then we have something called categorical data. So what do you mean by categorical data again? So categorical data, so basically it doesn't have any mathematical meaning. I mean, it doesn't have any inherent mathematical meaning. So let's imagine a gender, for example. So gender, if you consider a male and female, it doesn't have any mathematical meaning over there. Otherwise, let's imagine yes or no, which is again a binary, or a race, or a state of residence. So I might be belong to, let's imagine I belongs to Tamil Nadu, or maybe I might be belong to Karnataka, or you might be belong to, let's imagine, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, or maybe some other states in different country, right? It doesn't have any mathematical meaning at the end of the day. Otherwise, let's imagine a product category can be a good example. Let's take an apple. Apples has many different categories of products, but that doesn't give any mathematical meaning. So this is what categorical data. You might also see a categorical data in your data sets. Okay, a data can be also called as a data sets. So then we have something called ordinal data. So what is this ordinal data? So it's a mixture of both numerical and categorical data. So mixture of both numerical and categorical data. So the good example, let's imagine after this session we go for a movie. Okay, so it's beautiful, right? So we'll go for a movie after this session and we watch a beautiful Hollywood movie and we decide it's really good and everyone wants to review that particular product. So what do? We go to their website and we review that, right? So basically what I'm trying to represent. So ordinal data is a good example for a movie review. For example, let's imagine if the movie is really good, we're going to review as a 5 star. A 5 star represents, okay, let's imagine a movie is excellent, right? Otherwise, let's imagine if I review that movie as a single star or 2 star or 3 stars, so that represents, okay, it's not good, so probably yeah, fine. So this is again an example for ordinal data. So this is the three kinds of data so that you usually revolve around in maybe majority of use cases that we might work with. So that is a one topic that you need to be expert on. And then we have one more topic that you need to be expert on, that is statistics and probability. So you need to also know in-depth knowledge on statistics and probability. What do you mean by statistics and probability? You might ask a question. So this is something that I've learned in a school education. Oh, is this really used in machine learning? If you ask that question, yes. So statistics and probability is a very important basics. I mean, this is the base of any machine learning and data analysis that you want to talk about. So like few concepts in statistics and probability that I want to refresh once again, that you have learned in a school education again, but I want to just refresh. So mean, for example, what do you mean by mean? It's nothing but an average, guys. It's nothing but average. What do you mean by average? It's nothing but you have a number of samples added and divided by number of samples. There you go, you have a average, right? So mean is again a topic which is used very, very regularly when we are doing a machine learning, especially when you're analyzing your data. So here is a good example. Let's imagine in your street, let's imagine there are a couple of houses. In couple of houses, how many each and every house holds number of children? I mean, let's imagine house number one holds just, it doesn't have any children's. House number two holds two children's. House number three, right? This is a samples. Let's imagine I take an average. So I add everything, I divide it by number of samples. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So divided by total number of samples, and there you go, you get the mean, otherwise an average, right? So that is mean. And then we have median. So what is this median? So median is all about finding the midpoint in your sample. Okay, so first, how do we find that midpoint? First, we need to sort your data. Let's imagine this is again the data of your number of childrens in the street. So first, we sort this data. Once we sort it, so we have this data represented here. Then we find a middle number. So the middle number is 1. That is going to be our median. That's it. And so what if you can ask a question, what if I have, let's imagine, two numbers instead of one single number in the middle? Okay, that's very simple. Let's imagine if you have two numbers, add that both, divide that both. So divide that. Basically take an average for that. You'll get one average number. That is going to be your median, basically. So then we have something called mode. So mode is basically finding the very repeatable sample in your data set. So what do you mean by that? Let's imagine we take the same example, like the number of houses holding number of childrens. So we count the total number of houses holds 0 childrens. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how I will represent here. So the total number of houses holds zero children are going to be 4. And again, so the total number of houses who holds one children is 1. So I found I will try to find all for all the samples. I'll try to find number of modes. Then the highest number is going to be my mode. So here my highest number is going to be that is 0. The total number of houses who has 0 kids is going to be more possibilities, that is 4. That is going to be my mode. So as simple as that. So this concepts might be feel simple. Yes, those are simple, but these techniques are really important when we are trying to analyze the huge data, right? Especially like, let's imagine electricity data where I have 1 years of electricity data. Otherwise, let's imagine the use cases where you want to find, let's imagine a weather forecasting, what that you want to do. Otherwise, let's imagine you want to do some, let's imagine use cases like you want to find the fraud in a transaction in a bank, for example, right? So for every use cases, we use this mean, mode, median to analyze your data. So one more concept that you need to learn, it's about standard deviation and variance. So now it might be the terms might be looks unfamiliar or maybe familiar. We have also read about standard deviation and variance in our school education already. So what is this standard deviation and variance? So standard deviation and variance is all about reading how your data is spread. How it's all about reading the data that how it is distributed totally. So let's imagine it's about reading the data distribution. So here is a simple example that I provided. Okay, so here I have an x-axis arrival per minute, and y-axis I have frequency in days. So this is the data of number of aircrafts arriving to an airport and their frequency. So here, so let's try to analyze this data. I have this data distributed in a graph called histogram. Histogram is again a wonderful graph that is used for, let's imagine, to analyze your data, especially for understanding how your data is distributed. Okay, that's good. So let's try to analyze. So I can see, okay, so let's take this, the total, total number of aircrafts, two aircrafts arrival per minute. The frequency is almost around 2 days, right? If you consider. Otherwise, let's imagine over here, at 12 aircrafts, 12, 12 aircrafts arrival per minute, and the frequency, if you see, at 12, once in every 12 days, let's imagine an airport can see at 12 aircrafts arrival per minute. So that is very rare if you consider. At 12 aircrafts arriving per minute, no, that's a huge deal for airports, right? So that's very rare if you see. And so if you consider at two aircrafts arrival per minute, it's very common. Once in every 1 day, you will find two aircrafts arrival per day. So this is how you can understand the standard deviation and variance. And what if we can able to calculate a standard deviation and variance mathematically? Okay, here you go. So here is a simple example for calculating a variance in a first hand. So what formulas really, if you ask that question, do I need to really calculate, do I need to really memorize the formulas when it comes to machine learning? No, the answer is no. That's why we have Python. programming, for example, we use Python to calculate let's imagine a mean, mode, median, standard deviation, or variance. Python can do it like a magic. You don't want to memorize any formulas seriously. Okay, but anyway, for our representation and understanding, so here is how we calculate a variance. So variance can be represented as sigma square. Okay, that's good. So let's imagine we take a same sample 14548. So first we take a mean for that. So once we take a mean, we have an average, that is mean 4.4. So then we find something called difference from mean. What does mean by difference from mean? So we minus, I mean, we subtract each and every sample with the given average value, that is mean actually. So let's imagine I have a sample that is 1 minus 4.4 will get 3.4. Similarly, I get minus 0.4, 0.6, something like this. So this is going to be a difference from mean. Then I take square difference. Square difference is square of difference from mean. So then I take a square, I will get a square difference. Again, I will take a mean of that square difference. So there you go, you have sigma square, that is going to be 5.04, that is going to be a variance. So this is how we find variance. Then how do I find standard deviation? Very simple. We have variance, that is 5.04, then we will send the square over here, it becomes square root, so basically a sigma. So sigma represents standard deviation, that is nothing but 2.24, that is going to be our standard deviation. So now you can ask your question, so what is this standard deviation and variance is really doing with machine learning? How this can be really be useful? So this is standard deviation and variance, as I mentioned, it is used for understanding the data distribution. So let's imagine in the given data, do you have any garbage in it? I mean, so every data might have a garbage. I mean, you might be having not a quality data. I mean, so you might be having some lot of garbage in it. A garbage can be represented something like a missing data, right? So you might be having some missing rows, missing columns, probably, right? So basically to understand that, so you can use standard deviation and variance. So otherwise, it is a great tool for identifying an outliers in a technical terms. So for example, here I have a same data distribution, let's imagine. So how an outlier can be detected? Let's imagine here I have a data distribution. So here I will try to find whether my data, all my data points lying at least 1 and 2 standard deviation, so going to be a quality data. So every data that is lying away from 1 and 2 standard deviation, let's imagine at least 1 standard deviation away, that can be considered as outlier. For example, here I have -1, 1, so something like that. So here I have one data that is lying 1 standard deviation, that is 5. So for example, I can see at the data point, that is 1 and 8, which is lying completely away from 1 standard deviation. So that can be considered as an outlier. So this might be looking a bit complex, yes, but this is how the things are done. But there are more technical stuff that you guys need to learn still. So saying that, statistics and probability, we talked about data, so then we talked about statistics and probability. So then you need to learn one more topic called data engineering basics, or data engineering in AWS, for example. So data engineering is all about putting some engineering on your data. So we talked about data, right? Different kinds of data, but your data might not be a quality. You might not have some quality data. It might have some missing rows, a missing data, a missing cells in your data, probably, right? How do we deal with that? Right. So this is what we're talking about, data engineering. So, and before that, we need to talk about one more concept called train and test methodologies in machine learning. Basically, what do you mean by that? So what we are talking about today, machine learning, right? So we take a data, we teach that data to a machine, so then it can able to make a futuristic predictions. This is what we are talking about, right? So let's imagine, but it's not exactly done something like that. So let's imagine here I have my machine. Let's imagine this is my machine. So let's imagine this is my CPU. So I have my data. So I have my data in a CSV file. So what I do, I won't teach my all data, 100% of data to my machine. Instead of that, what I do is I split my data into, let's imagine, 70-30 ratio. I split 70% of data and to the remaining 30% of data. What I do, I teach this 70% of data to my machine, and I keep this remaining 30% of data to test the machine. I mean, with the given data, I take 70% of data. I will only teach that 70% of data to my machine, and I will keep remaining 30% to test my machine. So what does this mean? I'm examining my machine just to make sure it can able to make a proper predictions or not. So this is the concept, what is called train and test methodologies. So then there is a problem called overfitting basically. So what do you mean by overfitting? Basically, let's imagine I have a data over here. Let's imagine in layman terms. So let's imagine I have a beautiful black curve and I have a lot of data. Let's imagine I have a blue points and I have red points. So where you can see this data is too much congested over there, and you cannot see any empty space over there where I can fill in some more data, right? This is called overfitting. I mean, so what is the consequences of overfitting at the end of the day? I mean, the overfitted machine learning model or maybe overfitted machine can able to produce a faulty results. I mean, let's imagine we are trying to make some weather forecasting. So your machine learning model has made a prediction saying that tomorrow it's going to rain, but actually didn't rain tomorrow. Basically, your model is overfitted. So our that might be the best example what I can provide you. Are some other concepts that you need to know in data engineering is about missing data, handling a missing data. So I talked about missing data a couple of times. So let's imagine here I have my CSV file, for example. Let's imagine this is a CSV file. In this CSV file, I have a columns called, let's imagine I have an age column, shape, margin, density, and severity. And you can find a lot of missing data over there. It is represented as NaN, right? So dealing with this missing data is very important because you cannot teach your machine an unquality data, right? So you cannot teach a garbage to your machine. So basically we discussed about many different techniques. We discussed about mean, median, mode, right? So those concepts can be used to handle a missing data. I mean, let's imagine one simple technique can be, I take an average. Let's imagine I take an average for this particular column. Let's imagine I have some few missing data in the density, correct? So this column has a few missing data. So density column has a few missing data. I take an average of this entire column. And what I get as an average, let's imagine I get an average of 2.9, for example. I replace wherever I have NaN with 2.9, something like this. So for example, so this is a one technique that we can follow when you have a missing data in your columns. So this is not the only one example. There are many different examples. You can use mean, you can also use median to replace that missing values. So that is again data engineering concepts. And one more concept you need to learn, it's called data analysis. What do you mean by data analysis? It's all about it's all about using a tools to visualize your data and generating some insights from it. Okay, why do you need to know how to visualize your data in a first hand? If you ask that question, here we go. Let's imagine this. Let's imagine I have a electricity data. Okay, I have the same exact use case that I discussed previously. I collected electricity data of my home for the past 3 years. Let's imagine in a CSV file, I have a CSV file. In that particular CSV file, I have 30,000 columns. Let's imagine, sorry, 30,000 rows, not columns. Let's imagine I have 30,000 rows. I'm asking you guys to visualize the data without using any kind of a graphs. I don't want you to use line graph. I don't want to use histograms, but can you scroll down to every row? Can you visualize that? No, it's not possible. And you cannot also find a garbage in it. I mean, you cannot find you cannot find an outlier in it, right? So there are some many different problems. That's why we use a graph, something like this. So for example, in case if your data has let's imagine if your data has a lot of garbage, missing data, you can use, let's imagine a graph called box plots, whiskers and box plots, a best tool to find an outlier in your data. So you can use histograms. I showed you one histogram basically to understand how the data distribution is, right? So visualizing, knowing how to use visualizations, knowing which kind of a graph has to be used for which kind of a use case, it's very important. Let's imagine I want to do weather forecasting or maybe electricity bill forecasting. You need to know how to use line graphs, for example. So it's very important. Where you have a cluster data, your data is cluster, you need to know how to use a cluster based graphs. Okay, that's about data analysis. And here we go, we need to discuss about deep learning. So deep learning, so this is the concepts where you like when people talk about technologies like deep learning, you might be seeing this weird pictures what people used to display in their slides. That's what exactly I'm doing. So this is actually how deep learning looks. Basically, this is called artificial neural network. So basically, before we talking about this, we need to understand ourselves. I mean, how our human brains really work. So it's a concept actually inspired from human brain. It's a biological inspiration. So we have neurons. You know that we have billions of neurons in our human brain. So in cortical columns, basically in our human brain. So this slide is representing a biology. So each and every neuron in our human brain is responsible for carrying electrical signals from one part of a neuron to another part of a neuron. So basically, neurons are information carriers. So it has an electrical signal. It carries the information from one neuron to another neuron, right? So it's the same concept which is actually derived in a deep learning. What happens? We have artificial neuron, something like this, which carries the information from one part of a neuron to another part of a neuron. And we need to also discuss one more thing about cortical columns. So what do you mean by cortical columns? So let's imagine when it comes to use cases like computer vision. I mean, let's imagine a self-driving car, for example. Those kind of use cases, computer vision based use cases, for example. So there we need a huge compute power. I mean, that's where we use GPUs. I mean, we use a lot of GPUs to train your model. You need a lot of graphical processing units to process the graphics data, right? That's where GPUs comes into the picture. So GPUs, again, it's a concept inspired by cortical columns. So what do you mean by cortical columns? So in a human eye, we have a cortical columns, which is actually responsible for visualizing a picture. So we have a stacks of cortical columns. So this is a picture which represents the cortical columns. There are mini columns. There are in a mini columns you will find 100 neurons, for example. So lot of mini columns are stacked. Lot of mini columns are stacked. That's where you get a cortical columns. So this is how a visualization works. I mean, the way you see the picture, and that's it is how it is processed in our human eye. So basically doing some sort of parallel computing. This is how exactly GPUs works actually, right? So so what is this deep neural network anyway in a deep learning? What happens? How the machine really learns the data from it? So here is how. So this is how the artificial neural network or deep neural network will look. So let's imagine here we feed in our data. I mean, here we feed in our data. So here, let's imagine I want to do some electricity bill forecasting. I feed in my, let's imagine my voltage, current, for example, right? Voltage and current is a very responsible fellows to predict that, right? So let's imagine I pass in a voltage and current. So then this information will be fed into the upcoming layers where I have over here, and this further layers will learn the data from it. So basically every layer holds, I mean, let's imagine this circles there, those are the individual neurons. This is the individual neurons. So each and every neuron holds the data as a number, otherwise it can be called as a weights. Okay, so once this information has learned, so this information will be passed to the further layers actually, and finally we'll get an output over here. So softmax is a one kind of an output layer that we can use to find a output over there. So finally over here I will get the forecast saying that for the next 6 months what would be my electricity bill forecast, for example. So there are type of different kinds of neural networks are available in the market. What do you mean by that? So we machine learning is not only about computer vision, for example, or it's not only about forecasting, right? There is a NLP. So there are a lot of technologies inside machine learning or deep learning what you're talking about. So for many different kinds of use cases you can use variety of neural network types. For example, a feed forward neural network in a early stage of deep learning. This is a earlier I mean, it's in a beginning stage of deep learning we had a feed forward neural network. This is the best example for feed forward neural network. So then we have something called CNNs, otherwise it can be called as convolutional neural networks. So convolutional neural networks are good for, let's imagine, image classification, face recognition applications that you have in your phone already. So then we have another category, it's called recurrent neural networks, otherwise can be called as RNNs, which will be good for use cases like, let's imagine you want to make a predictions of a stock, like maybe stock market prediction. You want to predict whether a stock market going to be falling or rising, right? Or maybe or maybe like forecasting related use cases that can be also good example. LSTM, long short-term memory networks, good for speech recognition, or one more neural network called GRU, created recurrent units. So there are many different kinds of neural networks that you can use. So this is actually called activation functions. I mean, if you wonder what we have inside this neurons, what we have inside this every neurons, if you consider, so we have something called activation function inside that neuron. So what is this activation function does? It's nothing but, so basically it does some mathematics. So let's imagine this is my activation function where I have fx, so where I pass in my data, so the data holds some number, it does some math over here. So once you get an output of that math, so let's imagine you get one more output. So this output will be fed into upcoming neural networks again. So we have upcoming layer. So there, that data will be shared to the further network. So activation, there are multiple types of activation functions are available in machine learning actually, which can be used for multiple different kinds of use cases again. Okay, so there are three ways your machine will learn a data from your machine. I mean, three kinds of learnings. So from that, the first kind of a learning what we are talking about, it's called supervised learning. There are three types: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So what is this supervised learning? It represents your data. For example, I try to explain this in a very simple terms. Supervised learning, let's imagine, okay, so here I have three different kinds. I have Indian rupee, I have UAE, I have some Liberty coins. So each and every coin weights different weight. Let's imagine Indian coin 1 rupee weights 5 grams, so UAE weights 2 grams, and this Liberty coin weights 4 grams. So basically, supervised learning is all about, your data will hold both features and the labels. So if you're talking in case if you have a data which both features and labels, so that is supervised learning. So let's imagine, in this particular use case, a future can be a weight of a coin and label can be a currency of that coin. Let's imagine you, in case if your machine learning model is going to make a prediction, let's imagine if the coin is 5 grams, so that is going to represent it's a 1 rupee coin. So if you're going to machine is going to make a prediction as 5 grams, then 1 rupee, 2 grams, it's UAE. So that's how it works. So then we have unsupervised learning technique. So what do you mean by unsupervised learning? So learning with no labeled data. Supervised learning has both features and labels, but when it comes to unsupervised learning, you don't have a labels in your data. That's it. A best example can be, let's imagine a cricket as a good example, where we have a graph. In x-axis we have wickets, in y-axis we have runs, where we have clustered all our data. Let's imagine, based on the total number of wickets, I can able to make a prediction who is that bowler is. And let's imagine total number of runs, I can predict who is that batsman is basically. So this is how it works. So then we have something called reinforcement learning. So what do you mean by reinforcement learning? Again, this techniques most lies on, let's imagine, robotics or self-driving cars, for example. So those use cases uses reinforcement technique. So for example, here I have my machine. Let's imagine I'm trying to teach all the different kinds of pet animals that we have: cat, dog, cow, whatever it is. Okay, let's imagine, now I'm passing a picture of a cat. I'm asking my machine to make a predictions on it. So once I pass the picture of a cat, my machine is going to make a wrong prediction saying it's a dog. That's bad. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to provide a negative feedback to my machine saying that, see, this is not a cat, this is a dog. So based on this negative feedback, so my machine is going to learn the data from it. So it's reinforcement learning is something like, once it has learned the data, we give something like a reward, a prize, saying that, okay, that's good. So we get back up saying that, okay, you have done a good job. But even if it is making some mistakes, we give a negative feedback saying that, no, it's wrong, it's not a cat, it's not a dog, it's a cat. So it's going to learn from that negative feedback. So once again, if I pass the picture of a cat, okay, this time it's going to make a prediction saying it's a cat, not a dog. So this is how reinforcement technique works. Obviously, finally, we are into this slide where it can able to avoid your confusion. Mm, People talk about AI, artificial intelligence. People talk about machine learning. People talk about deep learning. So is that something different? Is that, am I need to learn only AI, only ML, only deep learning? Is there something like that? No. So AI, machine learning and deep learning, it's a sandwich of together. So AI is a final product that you might see. So AI, if you consider AI is the final product that you might see, that you might represent to a customer. So what happens when it comes to machine learning? Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. And when it comes to deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Combination of both machine learning and deep learning will get AI as a final product. Okay, here we go. So we are here for AWS. Finally, AWS ML Stack. So now we're going to learn what is AWS is really going to offer in terms of machine learning. So why we need to really consider AWS in a first hand. So there are many different kinds of cloud platforms in the world, right? Obviously, we know about Amazon Web Services. Again, that's a cloud platform. We know about Microsoft Azure, that is from Microsoft. We have Google Cloud from Google. There are other cloud platforms like Alibaba Cloud, IBM, Salesforce, a lot of stuff. And why do you think it is good to start with Amazon Web Services? Here is the quick validation. Amazon Web Services, actually they are leading the cloud industry. I mean, this guys holds a majority of share in a cloud industry. So that means it's directly professional to the amount of job opportunities that you might have, the opportunities that you might have. So this guys leads almost 100 billion in a cloud market actually. So this graphs is from Statistica. It's a quick validation for you to answer yourself why you need to get started with AWS. So already like more than 10,000 of customers. I mean, they uses Amazon. So I can keep on mentioning a lot of companies, guys. So for example, so Samsung, maybe Netflix. So if you know Netflix, they completely run on Amazon. If you wonder, if you go to Netflix office, they don't have any physical service or something. They sit in front of a PC. They use AWS at the backend, right? So there are a lot of companies that I can keep on mentioning who is using machine learning for on AWS. Like it may be Intel, it may be Tinder, it may be a Kia, it may be automobile industries, or maybe even like let's imagine like Samsung, or maybe like Siemens. I can keep on mentioning. There's a lot of things. Even this slide is not enough to publish all the results. Okay, here is the complete ML and AI stack of AWS. So what is AWS is completely offering in terms of AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. So this slide almost has all the information, but new updates has been not added in this slide. So we can categorize into three types: AI services, ML services, and ML frameworks and infrastructures. So what is this AI services? Again, AI, as I mentioned, is a final product that you can see. So there are many different AI products what Amazon provides, like a vision based, a speech based. Let's imagine you want to. So if you guys wonder, so during a session, if you joined early, you might be seeing some peoples are talking, some peoples are representing Cyton Technologies, right? So who are inviting you guys to the webinar. If you wonder, that's a human. No, that's a artificial intelligence powered by Amazon Polly. It's a speech-based service. So then we have text-based service, like where you want to convert your, let's imagine you have a document where you want to convert that entire document into a text format. So there are the use cases for that. So there are search services, chatbots, where you want to build a complete customized chatbots and you want to rule the digital marketing. You can build a chatbot with Amazon Lex. So we have personalization services, forecast. So if you want to do weather forecasting or maybe any time series data based forecasting, you can use forecast. Fraud detector. I mean, if you are a person who is working with a bank where you want to do predict a fraud in an online transaction, ATM cards, debit cards, you can use fraud detector. Are you a developer? You have a service for AI, and there is something called contact lens. So this is the AI services. I will be providing few demos today. Stay till end of this webinar, guys. If you stay till end of this webinar, you will be seeing a wonderful demos with live demos, and you can also download a free ebooks at end of this session. Okay, stay till end of the session. So then we have ML service. So if you are a developer, if you want to become a specialist tomorrow, let's imagine the only platform that you need to focus, it's more the things that you need to focus more is Amazon SageMaker. So Amazon SageMaker is a complete end-to-end platform. I can explain this in a three letters: B T and D. So B for build, T for train, D for deployment. If you realize that a typical workflow diagram that I showed you guys, you can do that. You can do that complete end-to-end deployment with SageMaker. So building is nothing but building the entire machine learning environment. So T for training, training your machine. D for deployment, deploying your machine learning models in a real-time production environment. Then we have ML frameworks and infrastructure that represents you can bring any kind of algorithm. You can use any kind of algorithm in a world. Let's imagine there are many different kinds of frameworks like TensorFlow, PyTorch, MXNet, GluonCV, or maybe scikit-learning, Keras, any kind of frameworks that you like to use. You can bring it to AWS. You can start building machine learning with that. So I will be showing a few demos on AI services. Stay till connected. Then we need to discuss one more a platform on Amazon. It's called Amazon S3. So why do we? What is this Amazon S3 in a first hand? So what happens? Let's imagine if we are not considering a cloud platform. Let's imagine we are performing a machine learning on your own personal computers. Let's imagine you can train your machine learning models by using your laptop. But we have a data, correct? Where do you store the data? So we have this CSV file. Let's imagine when it comes to your computer, where do you store this data? Obviously, on your local disk. It may be a C disk, it may be a D disk, or it may be E disk, whatever the disk you have, right? But when it comes to cloud platforms, where do you store the data? In a cloud, you don't have C disk or D disk. You have a storage platforms. You have a databases over there. So we are talking about Amazon S3, which stands for Simple Storage Service Platform. It's actually a storage platform. So it is similar to Google Drive, you wonder. So you know how Google Drive works. It's exactly similar to that. So S3 is an exact storage platform where 99% of people who use Amazon, they use S3 for their machine learning. So as it is a simple storage service platform, you can dump any kind of data on it. It may be PNG, video files, audio files, any kind of data that you want to use to store in S3. So S3 will be your storage repository for your machine learning. So S3 is really powerful. I mean, S3 provides unlimited storage service. What do you mean by unlimited? Yes, it is purely unlimited. So they promise 99.999% durability and 99.9% availability, and each and every file. I mean, let's imagine I store a one single CSV file. A single object can be up to 5 TB in size, right? Such a powerful platform, a high durability, a very low cost, considering any kind of databases that you are trying to imagine in AWS. So AWS has a lot of storage platforms, a lot of databases. Considering everything, so S3 provides very affordable cost. Scalability, it is auto scalable. You doesn't actually maintain any servers over there. Everything will be taken care by AWS. It is auto scalable. Availability and high secure. S3 provides by default AES 256-bit encryption standard, so your data is highly secured. Flexibility and simple data transfer. So let's imagine if you are trying to put a simple object in a S3, how would it look? So let's imagine I create a folder. So the folder can be represented as a key name, and I store a picture inside. Let's imagine a picture of an apple. Picture of an apple can be considered as a version ID. Okay, that can be considered as a version ID. So here if I represent the so each and every object that we store in S3, it will have its own unique URL in it. So for example, the unique URL for my apple picture, the apple picture that I stored in S3 would be look something like this. Okay, so let's have a simple discussion on Amazon SageMaker. So then we will jump into a demo. So very important platform. So if you're a developer, let's imagine if you want to build everything from a scratch. I mean, a complete end-to-end build, train and deploy your machine learning models in a production environment, you can use Amazon SageMaker exactly. So what is this Amazon SageMaker? Amazon SageMaker is a fully managed machine learning service, especially made for data scientist or a developer where you can quickly train, where you can build, train your machine learning models and deploy your machine learning models in a production ready environment. So if you are thinking to become a specialist, then Amazon SageMaker is the exact platform that you need to learn. So you won't believe Amazon SageMaker supports more than 25 plus algorithms, more than 25 plus algorithms that you can use to perform machine learning. So this is the same typical workflow that I represented previously. So this is the same workflow SageMaker provides. So first, we will start from fetching our data. Then we do, let's imagine we cleaning our data. Then we prepare our data. So then we start training your machine learning model. Once your machine learning model is trained, here we do testing. So once you're testing, you are satisfied with the results. Finally, you deploy the model in a production. So this is a entire typical workflow what SageMaker provides. So finally, the final one more concept that we need to discuss. So I mentioned many times algorithms. I mentioned many times, let's imagine frameworks, right? So a few frameworks that I can introduce today. Let's imagine there are wide varieties of frameworks that are available in today's world. Let's imagine Apache Spark, MXNet, TensorFlow, PyTorch, scikit-learning, Keras. You can use any kind of an algorithms to begin with. TensorFlow can be a best choice in case if you are a beginner. So TensorFlow, again, it's a world leading algorithm. So TensorFlow, it is maintained by Google. Even if it is maintained by Google, the most amount of the workloads on TensorFlow is running on Amazon. So this is the data from this particular website, so where it is representing the trend. I mean the trend in using algorithms. So TensorFlow leads the entire algorithms frameworks, and then we have Keras, PyTorch, and other things. Okay, so then here we go. Opportunities in the market. So the job market, how it looks towards that one. So here is the thing. So the job opportunities when it comes to if you're becoming a specialist on AWS machine learning, otherwise knowing how AWS machine learning works. So here is the a job trend exactly taken from tjobsworks.co.uk website. So you can see if you won't believe. So let me help you to believe today. So if you don't, so the reality is machine learning jobs are the high paid jobs till date, today, till minute. Till the current minute, machine learning jobs are the high paid jobs. So if you see the trend really started picking up from early 2011, and the trend is really growing till date right now. And this graph is the exact representation, a quick validation for you to realize this is the right time to get started with the machine learning. So yep, here this is the right time to get started with the machine learning. So here's the another slides. So where we picked up the different kinds of job opportunities that are available in many different kind of cities. So for example, near Mumbai, more than 100 plus jobs are available. There are many different kinds of roles that you will get. Let's imagine based on what you learn from AWS and Bangalore and United Kingdom. So are maybe a few job opportunities in United States, more than 1,000 plus job opportunities in India. So what LinkedIn is giving a reports, our Naukri is telling more than 3,497 AWS Amazon machine learning jobs in India. So here is the quick snap. So here is the quick snap, which is representing the salary range for any machine learning engineer. So annual salary range. So this data is taken from a Glassdoor website called Glassdoor. A minimum salary range starts from 500K per annum, and then average. Check this out, guys. An average salary range it goes to 1.5K. 1.5K per annum, a maximum it is 7,000K. So this data representing based on the hiring companies like Oracle, IBM, Accenture, Intel, GE, for example. Okay, here we go. So what are we waiting for? So it's finally here. So the demo on AWS AI service. So here is the quick demo on the first AI service that I'm talking about, Amazon Rekognition. Give me a sec. Let me have some water. Let me get ready. Okay, we are talking about a demo on Amazon Rekognition, a real-time demo. So Amazon Rekognition is a complete computer vision based platform. So it is powered by deep learning. So you can do anything that you want to do in terms of computer vision. Let's imagine you want to do face recognition, or maybe if you want to do object and scene detection, you can do, or maybe if you want to do real time video recognition on top of it. Yes. So here is a quick demo on a first use case on label detection. Here we go. Here is a default picture which is uploaded by Amazon. So you can see there's a picture of a person, a random person who's skating in a road. Okay. And I have a lot of trees and I can see a lot of automobiles, I mean, a lot of cars. And this scene looks like an urban location, right? And now my machine learning model has made up predictions already. Yes, if I move my cursor, you can see my machine is predicting it's a person. And if I move down, it's predicting it's a skateboard. And if I move my cursor near to the cars, you can see it's predicting it's a car. And it can also predict the wheel. And you can see the prediction results towards my right side. You can see it tells car, and with a score 98.8 percentage, a machine is sure there is a car in a picture. Automobile, vehicle, transportation, everything represents a car, and person, human, represents this person. Pedestrian, skateboard, 94.3 percentage, there is a skateboard in the picture. Sports, road, wheel, machines, path, city, urban. So this is urban and city represent the scene. Parking, sidewalk, there are a lot of possibilities. What if I upload my picture from my local computer, and we'll try to make some predictions out of it. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to upload a picture, let's imagine, from my local PC. Okay, let me try to upload a picture. Okay, so I'm going to upload a picture that I took from my offline workshop. We do a lot of offline workshop from Bangalore, India. So here I'm uploading a picture from my local computer. Now my machine has made a prediction. That's awesome. So let's see the labels also. You can see it is predicting it's a laptop, computer keypad, not bad, a chair, a person. That's actually me. I'm training the peoples. People, laptop. So and you can see the predictions towards my right side: PC, computer, electronics, laptop, person, human being, computer keypad, computer, hardware, LCD screens. Really makes sense, right? Yep. So this is about the label detection. Now I want to provide one more demo on facial analysis. Here we go. Facial analysis. So this might be the similar this might be the similar application that might be running on your phones. If you wonder how that works, today you know that. Facial analysis is the similar application that you might have in your smartphone. So facial analysis is all about analyzing a facial attributes. Here you can see a beautiful woman. She's driving a car, and my machine learning model has made up predictions saying in a given picture looks like a face, 99.9 percentage, appears to be female, 99.3 percentage, age range 21 to 33 years old, appears to be smiling, appears to be happy, wearing glasses, right? There are a number of possibilities. What if I toggle the picture? I have one more picture here. Okay, here we go. So here I can toggle the multiple pictures. I'm going to pick the kid in the picture, and let's check out the looks like a face. Yes, appears to be female. Yeah, really good. I want to check out, I want you guys to check out the age. So age range 5 to 15 years old. Exactly makes sense, right? So that kid is exactly a 5 to 15 years old. What if I toggle her mother? Age range 21 to 34 years old. What if I toggle her father? So exactly, again, the same age range, 21 to 33 years old. Makes sense, right? So this is the power of AI. This is the power of machine learning, guys. So this is a demo that I'm providing, but are you looking for a real hands-on? I mean, are you looking for doing a programming? I mean, so do you want to do a programming with a Python, and do you want to do it from a scratch with a real-time data? Do you want to understand by doing a real-time project? So here we go. So I want to provide more than one demo. So still a lot of demos are available. I want to provide one more demo on one more AI platform. It's going to be damn interesting. Stay till end of the session. So before that, I want to introduce what we're going to do next. So, so this is a webinar, but you will learn all about theory, but you don't do any hands-on here. So, but if you are looking for the real hands-on experience, I mean, so a complete hands-on experience by learning machine learning by doing real-time projects, here we go. So, and one more thing. So, why do you need to learn really machine learning? We talked about many, multiple aspects. I mean, we learned about let's imagine what's really happening in the world right now. It's really booming. I mean, it's really trending because it's a high-paid jobs are machine learning right now. I mean, this picture, it's really makes sense what's really happening in the world. I mean, just see the transformation in just 10 years. Both a cameraman and a pilot has been replaced, right? Just in 10 years, right? To the drones, the complete technology transformation just happened in 10 years. So you don't have much time to upgrade your skills. So that's why we are conducting a 2 days complete hands-on workshop. So what is this workshop? So this is not a webinar, spoiler alert, this is not webinar, it's a complete hands-on workshop. So this is the complete hands-on workshop that we are conducting in next weekend, guys, on 24th and 25th of July. So what exactly that you will be doing in case if you are registering for this workshop. So you will be learning machine learning by building a live hands-on project with real-time data. So this is what exactly we're going to do. Each and every participant who join, not just going to listen to what I'm talking, he will be practically building a project. So what exactly we'll be doing in this workshop? So we'll be doing a more than 10 hands-on exercises in this particular workshop. You will be learning building a machine learning project by using a TensorFlow as an algorithm. We'll be using a TensorFlow. So one real-time industrial project with TensorFlow, as I am talking about. So dedicated mentorship. This session is going to be totally 10 hours, not 90 minutes. This session is going to be totally 10 hours, consisting of both theory and hands-on. And if you're asking me a question, is that a free session or a paid session? No, it's not actually free. It's a paid session because it's an hands-on where you're going to learn a machine learning. So this is the exact price in case if you guys want to attend this session. So it's very affordable price. I will tell you how, because we are coming out of pandemic due to a pandemic. So the actual price of a session is 3,000 rupees, otherwise 3K. So we are actually charging a very affordable amount, that is 1,500. This is the exact amount that you spend for your dinner with your friends, or two of your friends, right? So we have a group ticket also. A group ticket will be affordable with 10% discount. Let's imagine it's not actually for group of two, it's group of three right now. Let's imagine if you're thinking of attending this workshop along with a group of three peoples, if you're bringing your friends or working colleagues along with you, you'll get 10% discount. So you can just pay 4,000 rupees for group of three peoples. Otherwise, if you're a single person, you can just pay 1,500 rupees. If you want to see the same exact price in the dollars, it's $21 if you want to check it out. Awesome, right? So you're going to like see, like, this is not just a workshop, guys. So it's more about after the workshop what we're going to do. So as I told you, we are building a community. So it's not a tata bye bye even after this workshop. So each and every people's who going to attend our workshop, they will be adding into our community groups. So in a community group, we'll be doing a lot of activity even after the workshop. What do you mean by that? So we'll be doing a lot of activities, like you can attend a lot of free webinars that we do, something like this, or maybe the free hackathons, a job opportunities exposure, or maybe like building a open source projects, collaborating with us. You can do more than that. So after attending this session, you'll be getting a free access to ebooks. You'll be receiving a recordings. Yes, you'll be having a recordings to access for few weeks. Community supports, as I told you, and access to webinars, hands-on guides, similar to applies for group ticket. Group ticket comes with a 10% discount. So what are you waiting for? In case if you're looking for a, let's imagine, in case if you're looking for a complete hands-on experience, so this particular workshop is the right place what you're thinking about. So let me quickly share the registration links, and I will also share the complete course curriculum, the workshop curriculum in a chat window. You can also download that. So though I have shared the registration link and the workshop curriculum, the first link for registering for our workshop and second link for downloading the complete workshop curriculum. So that will explain what we will be doing in the workshop. So I will be sharing down link for downloading a free ebooks in few minutes. Okay, I'm not going to share it right away. I want to provide few more demos, then I will come back. Okay, so here we go. So let me go back. So think about the workshop. So the workshop seats has been almost sold out. I mean, so we have very less number of seats because we are almost sold all our seats, because right now hardly, I guess I have only 5 seats left. In case if you're going to miss it, probably you're not going to get inside, because this workshop which I'm talking about, it's only for 20 lucky peoples. We almost sold 80% of seats right now. We just have 5 seats left. So once after you clicking the link that I provided, you'll be diverted to this website. It is called Townscript. This is where we have hosted our workshop. You can hit book now button over here, and you can pick any number of seats that you need. In case if you're international participants, you can choose the price which is in dollars and you can purchase it. That's awesome, right? Okay, saying that, let's go back to our next demo. Okay, so this is about Amazon recognition. I can provide few more examples over here. Let me go to one more platform. It's called Amazon Comprehend. Okay, here we go. I want to provide one more demo on Amazon Comprehend. Again, one more AI platform. So let me give a demo that's really going to be amazing. Let's see what it can do. So Amazon Comprehend. So if you're looking for any NLP based operations, I mean, let's imagine a natural language processing. So Amazon Comprehend can be a best tool, like especially if you're looking for a platform where it can able to convert a text to speech, a text, I mean, a text to speech or speech to text. So Amazon Comprehend is exactly a speech to text platform. Let's imagine if you want to convert everything that you talk into a speech, so that can be Amazon Comprehend. Amazon Comprehend has a great use cases, like let's imagine you have a live event is going on where you want to give a subtitles for that, right? So for those kind of use case. So here you can see I'm going to launch Amazon Comprehend. Let me give a quick uh sorry, not Amazon Comprehend. I'm in a wrong platform. So anyway, so Amazon Comprehend, which is in a part of a NLP service, which can do more than that. I mean, so with Amazon Comprehend, not only like so we can do NLP based operations, but more than that, it can do, let's imagine, one second. Okay, here we go. So this is about Amazon Comprehend. Then I want to provide exact demo on, yeah, here we go. So I will open up the session for Q&A. I'm going to take a few more minutes before I provide the demo. So then we can proceed further. Here we go. Yeah, so Amazon Transcribe finally. So Amazon Comprehend is an NLP service, but wherein Amazon Transcribed is again one more NLP service. In case if you're looking for, let's imagine use cases like where you want to do, like let's imagine a speech to text use case. So this can be a real platform. So let's give a real time demo here. Okay, here we go. Amazon Transcribed, as I told you, it's a high level text to speech to text platform. So let me, instead of I'm talking, let us AI talk. Okay, let's, here we go. So here, let me start streaming. So what this platform is going to do, everything that I'm going to talk right now, it's going to convert that into audio. Okay, so let's go. Start streaming. Okay, one second. Okay, I guess it's going to start streaming, and you can see the changes in my screen probably. You can see like everything that I'm going to talk right now, it's going to convert everything that I'm talking right now into text over there. Guys, I'm not typing anything. You cannot hear my keyboard sound. Basically, it is converting everything that I'm talking so into a text over here. So if you're wondering how it does, this is what yeah, Amazon Transcribe does. It can able to convert everything that you talk, a speech to text platform. So this is the great platform for, let's imagine if there is a live event that is going on, you want to use some subtitles. So that you want to provide a subtitles in English, for example, this can be a best platform. Okay, here we go. That's awesome, isn't it? Right, right. Okay, awesome. That's cool. Okay, that's good. Okay, let me stop the streaming. Okay, now you can read. Okay, you can read everything that I talk right now. Yeah, this is my feeling. Probably you can see like everything that I'm going to cover everything that I'm talking to store. But I mean, it's not so much good, but anyway, it is trying to convert most amount of the stuff that I'm talking. So it interesting how it is. This is what Amazon does. It can work anything that you want to talk to reach into text platform. So that platform, okay, so it can do everything. I mean, it can do the real time text, I mean, speech to text conversion platform basically, right? So this is about Amazon Transcribe. And and the final demo that I'm going to provide before we go into a Q&A, that is on Amazon Lex. Amazon Lex is the exact chatbot platform which I'm talking about. So I have built the customized chatbot for you guys to provide a demo. So I'm talking about the complete AI chatbot that I have built. So I have built a chatbot for a flower shop. So basically, let's imagine you're going for a flower shop to buy some flowers, okay? So, but there is no a shopkeeper in a flower, so especially on an e-commerce platform to answer your questions. But there is a, human being. Instead of human being, we have a AI chatbot who is sitting in front of your computer to answer your questions. Here is a quick demo. So Amazon Lex is a chatbot. Not just you can able to chat with that, you can also talk. Like Amazon, it is actually derived from Amazon Alexa. You know about Amazon Alexa, right? So it is actually derived from Amazon Alexa, what it is called Amazon Lex today. So you can also interact with both text and audio. So here we go. Let me try to order some flowers. Okay. Now I'm going to ask my chatbot some few queries. So I'm going to ask my chatbot. Okay, here we go. I want to order some flowers.
What type of flowers would you like to order?
So now you can see that, isn't it amazing? I'm talking to AI. So now I inputted an audio saying I want to order some flowers. So now my chatbot has replayed me back saying what type of flowers would you like to order. So now I can interact with text saying roses. So now you can see there is no audio. When I interact with text, I get text. What day do you want these roses to be picked up? So I can mention, let's imagine I can mention tomorrow, 2021, 07 19. Okay, so I mention the date that I like. Okay, pick up the roses at what time tomorrow? Maybe let me mention it. Let me try to mention it in audio. 10 a.m.
Pick up the roses at what time on
Okay,
July
sometimes it
19th,
couldn't recognize, but
2021?
anyway, let me type it in the chat. 10 a.m. Okay, so okay, your roses would be ready to pick up at 10 a.m. at this date tomorrow, and it will cost $25. Does it sounds okay? Yes. Okay, but the cost of a roses is costlier than our workshop. Our workshop cost $21, guys. So go and register it. Don't lose this opportunity. You will be doing a live hands-on projects along with me. We will be exploring Amazon recognition completely. We'll be exploring Amazon recognition, what I showed in hands-on on as part of, let's imagine, computer vision. We'll be exploring Amazon recognition completely, and we'll be exploring SageMaker by building a live hands-on project by using a TensorFlow as an algorithm with a live data with real-time data. So this is all about this webinar, and go ahead and register for our workshop. So in case if you guys have any doubts right now, I'm open for Q&A. You can unmute your mics. You can talk to me. Otherwise, you can mention your queries in the chat window, so I can also help you to answer it. So let me answer your questions. Akshay has answered a question. Will we get Amazon Cloud Service 2 in the workshop? So I will tell you how this works, Akshay. So you will be creating your own a free trial account from an Amazon. We will help you how to create that. So you can create a free account from an Amazon. So with that free account, you'll be getting 1 year free trial. So that would be more sufficient for you to use it. Yeah.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah, please. So please mention your name, then you can ask your question. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Adam.
Hi, Adam.
I would like to know. So I've worked with AWS before, and like for the using the EC2 instance, and it's basically like you just need to click a few buttons to make an instance start up and to modify it. So I haven't worked with SageMaker before. So I'm wondering, is it also the same way? Like, do they also give you a GUI which you can just use to just like open up just to start deep learning? Like, do you need to, like, my actual question is, how does programming come into this? Like, in which scenario would we need to, use Python programming for deep learning, since everything is already being done under the hood? So
Okay.
why are we having to learn programming for
Okay,
this?
that's good. So yeah, that's a good question. But so you're referring to EC2, the way that you launch a server. So that is completely different than what we are doing in machine learning. So machine learning is all about, as I told you, we take a data and we will make sure we teach the data to a machine. So when it comes to this journey of machine learning, if you remember the typical workflow that I showed you as part of, let's imagine where you work with, deal with data engineering or maybe data preparation basically. So data preparation is all about, I showed you few examples where I have a missing data. I have some few datas missing in a row. So how do you deal with that? So maybe not UI. So providing every feature in a UI, it's not possible. So but still, Amazon SageMaker has a UI where you can able to build your machine learning models with that, but that is not so much efficient without doing any programming. So you can do drag and drop such stuff for things. You can upload your data sets. You can also clean it without writing any programming, but that's not going to help you for such a higher level. Let's imagine you're working with a huge amount of data, especially in the big data scaling perspective. Let's imagine where you have a huge data to deal with. You need to use different kinds of tools, different kind of visualization tools, libraries in Python to deal with that. So programming is absolutely necessary when it comes to a complete customization that you need as part of thing. So as you asked, yes, SageMaker provides an UI. Basically, you can upload your data. You can select what type of algorithm that you need to use to train your model. That is also possible. But if you want to become a specialist, maybe that's not a good answer just by knowing how to use a UI. But you need to know how to learn how to use Python programming, or maybe not Python, maybe if you want to use R, whatever it is, to do machine learning with that. Yeah.
So hi, Sarath, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes,
Yeah,
please mention
my
your
name is
name,
Sayed.
then you can.
Yeah, my name is Sayed.
Hi,
Actually,
Syed.
my question is relates to the thing which we are working right now.
Mm-hmm.
We are using the Salesforce platform, okay, where we used to have a development of let's say we are using Apex coding and using developer console and Salesforce CLI. All right, I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so what I'm trying to say that, as you said, that is it what you call it, specific language Python you are specify, right, for this
Yeah,
Amazon?
Python.
So
Yep.
we all always use this tool, Python tool, or we can build our uh, other stuff also. Like for example, any other uh, language also we can use, like Java or Angular, JavaScript, and so on.
Okay.
That
So
so I mean
awesome.
the
So
as per
hmm,
my understanding, that purely work on the Python platform, right? We have to stick into that. I'm not sure.
not exactly. So when it comes to let's imagine, let me answer this question in the perspective of Amazon SageMaker. So Amazon SageMaker is the exact platform for the developers where you can where you can write your code, where you can build everything from a scratch. So it's not mandatory that you need to use Python. So for example, Amazon SageMaker runs on a web-based IDE, what it is called Jupyter Notebooks. You might be heard about it. So Jupyter
Yep.
Notebooks not only supports Python, it supports various other programming languages like R, or maybe some other programming languages.
Mm-hmm.
So you can also use that. Yep, possible.
So I mean, can I continue?
Yes. Yes,
So,
please continue. Yeah.
So it means it has not. I mean, it's similar work like somehow independent platform which you said like we are using developer console. Here we are using some
Yeah.
other thing like you specify the tool called what do you call that?
SageMaker. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we are in this particular workshop that we are going to conduct on July 24th and 25th. We'll be proceeding with Python, and Python can be a good suggestion because yeah, Python is very easy to learn and implement, and huge amount of workloads is running on Python in a real world. So yeah, be a good choice. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, just a quick question. I think, are you going to be the trainer?
Exactly, that's correct.
Wonderful, wonderful. You know, I'm really quite interested in taking the course, but because of the time zone, you know, it's quite complicated. Are there other times available, or maybe another schedule that, yeah, is going to be planned for next or future, you know, workshops?
I know, yes, these time zones are really hard for us to even plan from our side. Yes, so we'll be planning for different schedules also, but yeah, so yes. So, but this schedule, what we have planned is, I mean, so it is going to be from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. in IST. So probably
Yeah,
let's imagine, yeah,
that's
if I
the
need to
problem.
explain in, yeah, it's going to be let's imagine in BST, it's going to be around 8:30 a.m. It's going to start, especially in
Yeah.
UK time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, if you know, for example, for me, you know, this time framework, this time frame, it's very, very nice. No, it's yeah, but
sure, we will consider the feedback. Yep. Thank you.
Hello, can I ask a question real quick?
Please, yeah, mention your name and you can ask your question.
My name is Craig, and I was curious to know about the project for the workshop that we'll be working on. Can we use the project on our resume, and can we have a portfolio from that?
Please, yes, you can do. I mean, the best way of representing that, because you cannot represent a webinar saying that you attended a webinar, that doesn't work. So, but yes, you can represent saying that workshop, because you will be building a project by your own. I mean, so the same thing that what I am doing, what I am replicating in my screen, you will be replicating on your screen. So yes, you can represent that saying you have built this project in your resume. Yeah.
A lot of jobs, when you go to apply, they want to have some kind of portfolio. And for that portfolio, they want a link. Can I get the link to that so then someone, as they look at my background, they can click on the link and see the project that I've built?
Exactly. So some of the good practices that you can do. Yes, I mean, not only the things that we do in the workshop or maybe the course, whatever what I'm talking about. So let's imagine even after completing this workshop, you can start building your own projects, represent that in the platforms like GitHub, try to upload your projects in the GitHub, or try to contribute to some open source projects or other working. So maybe that's the best way that you can also represent. So you can put up a lot of blogs.
Well, yeah, that's what I want to build to. But could I use this project that I learned in the workshop? Could I load that to GitHub? I guess is the better question.
Yes. Yes,
okay,
Gohan. Yes, it is possible. So this course, every slides, the materials, the codes will be given for every participants. Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad that I've already registered. Thank you.
Sarath, again, Said with you. One quick question regarding the certification. Like Salesforce have a certification, like we are doing the certification there, and we are perform the exam and we get certified. So is it something similar to that? We have certification in that part, Amazon, or?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So AWS, as you're mentioning, every cloud platform has their own certification program. So in AWS, as part of AWS Machine Learning, we have a certification called AWS Machine Learning Specialty Certification. We also do that course. So that course will be done after this workshop. I mean, so the way we are bringing the participants in a quite good manner. So first, people who want to just understand what is machine learning and exposure into cloud, they attend our webinar, they will get some enough knowledge. So then they attend our workshop, they will understand how AWS work, how SageMaker works, how machine learning works. So once they really are in a stand to upgrade their skills, they can register for our complete course. That course will be a duration of, let's imagine, 40 hours, at least 40 hours. That will be for entire month. Let's imagine every weekend we'll be having that sessions for that course. Yeah.
But they have the trailheads, similar to the trailhead. Do you have some platform where we can go and learn it? Like they have trailheads in Salesforce. You know trailhead, right?
I mean, so you're looking for like, let's imagine, does AWS provides any content where you can learn something like that?
The training materials where we can go and register there and log into that, and where we can.
I mean, so AWS personally, they don't do the certification program. So the third-party companies like us, there are a lot of companies like us who does the certification program. So you can get some demo videos. I mean, so some introductions about what SageMaker, how it does, how it works. And AWS, more than that, they have a documentation for every services what they have. You can read all the documentation. So the documentation for individual services, that will also help for you to get started.
And secondly, the training which you conducted right now, it's recorded, right? So can you share with us?
Exactly. Yes, you will receive the recording either by tomorrow. Yeah.
On our email, right?
Yeah, we will be emailing you to the same exact email. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
And please, and also please future datas for the workshop.
Sure.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome. So please let me know if anyone has any other questions. So let me mention if I have any question in the chat. So Chandrasekhar asked a question, what is the timing for the workshop with real practice and providing a knowledge and building a models and deployment? So this workshop that we are planning, that is on 24th and 25th of July, the timing is going to be 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. IST on Saturday, Sunday. Both the days we will be having a same duration, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. IST. So totally it's going to be a 10-hour session.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Sir, will we be getting any certification if we are attending the courses regularly?
Yes, you will be receiving a certificate for this workshop on July 24th and 25th, certified from Cytron Technologies. Yes.
Okay. Not of this workshop, only if we attend the July 24th and 25th workshop, right?
Yeah, so this is not a workshop. We don't want to call it as a
This
workshop
was
because
just a
it's a
lecture,
webinar.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's why. So yeah.
Okay, the link of the 24th and 25th will be shared on to us by WhatsApp or by mail.
So, so the link for the workshop registration I will also share in an email. I will share that in a chat window. You can also take a look. Yes, folks. So now I have shared the link for, once again, I shared the link for workshop registration and download the link for workshop curriculum. And the third link where you can download the free ebooks that I have promised, you can use that third link to download a free ebooks.
Okay, sir. Fine.
Yeah,
Thank
I will also share the same information via email also.
Okay, sir. Fine. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, and Akshay asked a question, would a workshop would be recorded and will we get a recordings if we miss? Yes, Akshay, workshop will be recorded. You will be having access to that workshop sessions for a few weeks. Yes. See what services that you will be teaching during a workshop. Akhil has asked a question. You can also go to this website. You can also see the content over here in case if you're interested. Otherwise, you can download the PDF. Here is the complete curriculum that what we will be planning for the workshop. we'll be getting started from introductions of ML and AI. We'll be covering a basics. Then introduction to AWS machine learning stack once again. We'll be discussing about few things, a tour of AWS cloud services, exploring machine learning and AI platforms, introduction to SageMaker, yes, recognition, and few services like IAM. And as part of a workshop, we'll be exploring recognition end to end completely by building up projects. You can see wherever I mentioned an asterisk over here, that represents a hands-on. So that means we will be doing a hands-on on all the use cases. So this is a plan for 24th and 25th. We'll be exploring Amazon S3 and other databases. S3 will be exploring in deep, and AI services will be exploring few AI services again, Lex, Poly, Text Extract, and Transcribe. And Amazon SageMaker will be exploring SageMaker by building a live hands-on project, as I mentioned, by using a TensorFlow as an algorithm. Yeah, this would be the curriculum for the workshop. Okay, and Erin has asked a question, what level of computer knowledge do we need to know to build this platform, or maybe to attend this workshop also? Let me mention in that way. What are the prerequisites for you to attend this workshop? So anyone from science and engineering background, they can attend this workshop. So not much programming experience is needed. So if you have a basic understanding of any programming language, let's imagine even a C program, Java, or maybe Python, you are very much welcome to attend this workshop. So don't miss this session. So we have very few seats left, just 5 seats left, because we have just 7 days to go. If you miss the seats, you won't we cannot get it inside, because we want to keep this workshop only for 25 peoples, because I need to personally take care of every attendee during this workshop. We need to make sure they complete the projects that we do during the session. That's why we are keeping it to just 25 peoples. So Venkatesh Kumar has asked a question. I'm working in some other fields. Shall I switch over to ML field? That can be a good choice, but you need to, like, first I need to understand. I mean, so to provide us suggestions for this, maybe let me consider. Let's imagine if you are in IT domain already. Let's imagine you are in software domain and you want to shift to ML. So that's going to be a peaceful. So maybe you can start exploring ML AI right now. That can be a great opportunity for you if you want to shift the career into ML. So because there's a great opportunities in terms of it. And my suggestion would be, let's imagine, in case if you are into certain fields, let's imagine you are already serving a banking client, you're already serving, let's imagine, e-commerce clients. So you can start exploring ML and AI opportunities in those domains itself. Let's imagine a banking client opportunities, or maybe the opportunities in the, if you're working with medical client. So because that's how you can also merge with what exactly you are doing already. So yes, so shifting it to machine learning can be a best choice. So you can start from a basics, and so then you can start deciding whether you can take the course, a complete course or not. So yeah. So if someone asked a question, is not able to extract a machine learning ebooks. So it should be in a RAR file or zip file, or maybe I hope it should be in RAR file. Make sure you have some software
Yeah,
to extract a
they
RAR.
work fine. It works fine. I have just uploaded the 3.
Awesome. Okay. So Akhil has asked a question, after this workshop, how good we will get at using AWS machine learning? At what level would it reach? So Akhil, so this workshop is a beginner level workshop. So where you will be getting started with machine learning in a professional level. I mean, so let me tell the main 3 takeaways of this workshop. The first takeaway of this workshop would be the complete exposure of machine learning. I mean, the right way of doing machine learning. And second thing is, you're not only learning machine learning here, you're also learning what is AWS and how to use AWS as a cloud, especially using ML services. Then third important takeaway would be the community. As I told you, there's no Tata bye bye after this workshop. So still you will be connected with our groups. It may be a WhatsApp group or maybe a Facebook group. where we will be keep on feeding a data. So this workshop will give, let's imagine a beginner level knowledge to get start what is machine learning and what is SageMaker is really about. So yes, you can start. So this can be a gateway. This can be a right gateway for you to get started with the right way of learning machine learning. I'm in a professional level of doing the things in further things. Yeah. So I will spare few more minutes, guys. If you have any more questions, you can ask by unmuting your mic. Otherwise, you can mention in a chat. I can able to help you. So Venkateshwar asked a question. I'm working in an engineering college. I'm a faculty. Faculty company will prefer us. Okay, that's a good question. So let me help you how it works, Venkateshwar, in terms of machine learning. Especially, I will answer this in a two ways. So there might be a lot of college professors who might be also attending this session. How this going to helpful for them? So there are two ways of doing this. So first, what is here is the first answer. What is happening in the world?
Uy, no, está
So
bien el horario, entonces.
so what is happening in the world right now? Let's imagine a clouds like AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud. If you wonder, so like every college, maybe as a engineering curriculum, let's imagine there is a subject that is completely dedicated for cloud computing, right? So soon you might expect as part of a curriculum, you might expect AWS as a plate subject in your for a student's curriculum, or maybe Microsoft Azure again separate curriculum as a in a school for students actually. So if you check out the policies in the government, so still like cloud industries like Amazon, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud, they will be soon entering into the curriculum for the students especially. So that can be a one way where it can able to help for the working for the college professors. Another way, so there are like machine learning is the machine learning is still into, let's imagine, much into research domain, for example. So I can see a lot of college professors who is attending our workshops. Not only workshop, they attend our courses in much more wider way, because most of the professors who are into research domain, they want to explore many different kinds of algorithms and frameworks in AWS, and especially AWS 2. So they attend our courses, and I can see a lot of college professors who are in a research domain or who has got into machine learning. So yes, they can be also work in a corporates, because if you have done some more research, if you're in a research domain, so that will help you. Okay, Akhil has asked a question. So after a smarter looking into opportunities in 2021, AWS or Azure or both, what would you prefer? So like I just answered that question already in a slide. So the opportunities are available in all the different kinds of cloud industries. It may be AWS, Azure. So AWS and Azure are the main two players in a cloud industry. What we consider. Sorry, 1 second. So AWS or Azure. So yes, so learning both the platforms is not a pain. So because so let me tell you the main what's the commonalities in all the different kinds of cloud platforms. Okay, so yes, they are different cloud platforms if you're talking about AWS or Microsoft Azure, but they have a similar services inside. I mean, let's imagine they have a similar service like SageMaker, similar databases, storage platforms, but they call it in a different name. But most of the services they do as the same exact job actually. So there are equal opportunities, but AWS, which is leading the cloud industry, that means it's directly professional to the more job opportunities in a market, the wide variety of customers they use AWS. So why can't AWS can be a first place where you can get started? So maybe you can take Azure next. So it's completely up to your decision. So my validation has been provided during the slides. Yeah. Thanks, Akshay, for your feedback. Okay, I will spare 1 more minute in case if you guys have any doubts. So then otherwise we'll wind up. So don't miss this workshop. Just go and register. Just 1,500 rupees, just $21. It's the amount that you spend for your dinner during with your friend. So don't miss this. And if you have any questions or doubts, you can call me, text me to the number that I have displayed in my slide during a session. So let me display, or let me share that in a chat window, both my email address and phone number. Yeah, if you have any questions or doubts, you can call me back to the WhatsApp number that I shared you, otherwise the email address. So let me share you guys workshop registration links, workshop curriculum links, and ebooks links once again. So thank you. This is Sharat Kumar from Cytron Technologies. Thanks for spending your valuable time in this webinar. I hope it is useful, and you have spent this 90 minutes, obviously more than 90 minutes, more more valuable and usable. Thank you, and enjoy your weekend, remaining weekend. And thank you then. Good night, good morning, and good afternoon. Bye.